Yo, what's good, YouTube? Yo, what's good? This is STORMYBMAN, and I am back. I just want to say good evening. We've been talking boxing off and on past few days, and we got a little more for you tonight for December 29th, Sunday evening, 2019. We coming to the close of the year, looking to talk some more with the family out there. I want to say shout out to the LDBC. And I want to say shout out to everybody that's listening this evening, as well as everyone that's in the chat. Want to welcome you all. It's the STORMYBMAN channel. Tonight's stream is called, Boxing, Wilder, Fury 2, A Look Ahead. Okay? And I want to say, first of all, I introduce my guests this evening. We got a few people on the panel with us this evening. We got Brooklyn Child Boxing out there and Tyrone Smith, couple brothers that got their own channels. And then we're looking to talk a little bit about this upcoming fight, like a little bit of a preview to you. So let me welcome my guests here. What's going on with you, brothers? How you doing?
Salute, Stormy B-Man, man. You know what I'm saying? Salute to Stormy, Tyrone. Kurt Anderson's going to be joining us in a little bit. Know what I mean? Salute to the chat. You know what I mean? Looking forward to talking this Wilder Fury too, because honestly, to be honest with you, we're gonna have some fights in between from now up until February 22nd. But to be honest with you, all that shit, all these fights that's coming up before then are the appetizers until the main course. You know what I'm saying? So let's break this shit down. You know what I mean? Looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Stormy, man, for sending me a link, getting me on here. Just been past couple of, days and weeks listening to your lives, man. I've just been laughing in my bed, man. Just rolling around, whether it be driving somewhere, just some of the stuff you say, just I'm dying over here. So I had to get on at least one time. I'm looking forward to talking about this Wilder Fury fight, and I think most of us think it's going to be pretty clear cut. So, let's get into it.
Yes, indeed. And we're glad to have you, Tyrone. I was meaning to get you out here a little sooner than right now, but, better late than never. Good to have you out here. Another young voice out here in the community. Got your own little channel going over there. And I like to, people to hear that different perspective. So both you and Brooklyn are always welcome here. Just know that. As Brooklyn alluded to, we're going to be joined by Kurt Sugar as well. He's just getting himself together, but he will be popping in. That's why you may see his name up there on the screen. This is a time that, like coming to the end of the year, we just had a pretty good evening worth of fights last night. Some surprises, maybe not others, but let me start off with Tyrone, since you're the newest brother to my stream as far as, being on a panel with me. Tyrone, how did you like last night's fights?
Oh, man, I felt your analysis of it was spot on, man. Just starting with the opener, the Thompson Uzcategui fight. You said there's one dude on there who wants to fight, and there's another guy on there who wasn't sure if he wants to fight, and you're just hoping the ref would just wave it off. I felt the same way, man. I felt the guy let himself down, and he brought his son in the ring. And I remember, if it's the one word I remember from Spanish, was ganar or gane or whatever. And I knew he was asking his son whether or not he won. And his son cried, said no. And that was the story of the fight, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. The Pascal Jack fight, it just kind of proves my point about Jack. He's a guy who can never, Brooklyn, you've always said it, can never get out of that next gear. Can't step it up, and it showed. I give him credit in this day and age. For anybody who fights the fights has to be commended, but being commended and winning, are two different things. At any elite level, he's not going to do that. So, and it just proves it. Tank fight. I guess I'm so used to seeing Tank bowl over guys. I was one of the guys who thought he was going to bowl over Gamboa, and it was going to be pretty clear cut because of his age. But it didn't happen, and I'm relegate Tank. I still think he's really talented, and the book's still out on him for me. I mean, I'm not definite that certain guys can beat him or he can beat certain guys. I think he's really talented, and he just has to fight the fight. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the near future.
All right, all right. Good comment there, Brooklyn. How did you find the fights from last night?
Yeah, man. I'll start with the Oskadegi and Thompson fight. You know, the fight was kind of uneventful. I mean, I am in my earlier videos, I've spoken highly of Oskadegi. I think Oskadegi has ability. But I just think his demeanor and like his demeanor will never allow him to reach the his demeanor in the ring will never allow him to reach his full potential. You know what I mean? And last night showed Oskadegi could have won that damn fight, but it's just something about him he just has a mental blockage. You know what I'm saying? And Thompson, I mean, what's his name, Lionel Thompson or whatever. I wasn't really impressed. I wasn't that impressed with his performance. You know what I mean? He boxed him or whatever, but I think against the upper echelon of 168, he gets bowled over. You know what I mean? I wasn't really impressed with what I saw or whatever. But, you know, it is what it is with Oskadegi, man. Like, it is what it is with Oskadegi. As far as Jack and Pascal, that was a very good fight. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm going hard on Battle Jack, because I have a lot of respect for him. If you look at his resume, he's fought a lot of good ass fighters. That's something you can't take away from him, especially in this day and age with all this protecting of fighters. TMT is definitely not protecting Battle Jack. You know what I'm saying? But he always fights. What he does in the second half of the fight, he can't do in the first half. And this is just the story of his career from all his elite fights, all his top level fights. He fights well in the first, and he fights. He's a little lackluster, and he loses the first 6 rounds, and he comes on strong in the second half of the fight. That's just the story of his career, and it played out last night. But in fairness to Jack, I did think he won, but I don't have a decision. I can't make an official decision, so it is what it is. But that was a great fight nonetheless. Salute to Pascal and Jack. You know what I'm saying? As far as Tank, I mean, he performed decent under the circumstances. He bowls over guys, he knocks guys out, he knocks guys down. He dominates these guys, but for me, when it comes to Tank Davis, the jury's still out. The jury's still out with Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? The talent is obvious. The talent's obvious, but I can't give him the throne until he fights certain guys I want to see him fight. It's, in particular, young black fighters with some athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see Tank Davis fight some guys who can match him from an athletic standpoint. Until I see that, you know what I'm saying? But that's my thoughts. Stormy?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
Hey.
I was giving myself a chance. I'm operating multiple screens here, so as well as coordinate everything. So if I'm a little delayed on my response, everything is good. Just know that.
All right, no doubt.
Those things.
All good.
Yeah, you know that Uzgastiki fight. I was like, man, that for some reason that fight put me to sleep, and I didn't like the effort by Thompson. I know he pulled out the victory, but dude, it was so lackluster when he could have turned up the heat on Uzgastiki, because he gives me the impression of a guy who's a bluffer, okay? And by that I mean, you know, he's usually a little more physically imposing than his opponents with his height and everything, because if you saw them at the weigh-in, he was kind of staring down at Thompson, you know? But you have to do more in the sport of boxing than just intimidate somebody with your physical presence. Because fighters have to understand, you're going to fight all types. You're going to fight tall guys, skinny guys, short guys, stocky guys, guys who look ugly and mean and everything, and guys who may have a pretty boy face appearance. You know, none of that matters. What matters is the understanding that your opponent, just like you're there to put hands on each other in the most devastating manner, you know, and looking to take each other's caps off, so to speak. So I don't know why Thompson's people didn't urge him to really go hard after the guy, because he dropped him with a basic 1-2 early in the fight that didn't have a lot of power on that 2, you know. And I was like, what if he had thrown that punch with bad intentions, as they used to say out of the Mike Tyson camp? That he could have possibly got an early knockout, but he got a flash knockdown because he didn't commit to the punch that he threw. It looked like he was pulling the punch back before it actually punched through the target, you know. And so I could tell what I was looking at, that this wasn't, you know, by my definition, what I really wanted to see. So I kind of checked out mentally. I scored the first 2 rounds. And then after that, I was like, I'm not even going to score this fight, because it was very lackluster. And these guys, they were not doing what we like to see, you know, the things that we like to hold fighters accountable for and everything. It just wasn't happening. So knowing that, I kind of checked out. But it didn't surprise me who won, because Thompson seemed early on to be the more capable guy, but he just wouldn't let his hands go. And Uzgatiki didn't seem to know what to do to break him down. So it was like Tyrone repeated my saying, like one guy didn't want to fight and the other guy wasn't sure if he, you know, wanted to compete or whatever. It was like, yeah, you know, remind me of 2 kids when you first put them in the gym, in the ring, being very small. Nobody wants to hit the other guy. You have to encourage them. Punch, do this, do that, you know, and they just looking at each other and they standing there. Hey, if you ever been to a boxing gym, you see that shit with little kids. There you go. You go on from there. But it's like you have to put them in there and say, do something, jab, stick them, you know. You have to tell them. 2 old guys, okay? One was 37, one was 38. You don't see that too much. You know, you usually see a wider gap in ages when you're talking about an aging fighter being involved in a match like this. And I found that to be a highly entertaining fight. I've remarked with several other people, I thought that it's the best I ever saw John Pascal look. And Badou Jack was there as an opponent, and he actually fought like an opponent, because if he fought like a former champion like he was, he could have possibly pulled that out. But see, that's the mentality. When you have the wrong mentality at the top of the sport, it's like inches between you being the victor, the person who drew, or the person that lost. And in this instance, it was Badou Jack smothering his own shots when he had Pascal hurt late in the fight. I was screaming at the television. I said, stop smothering your shots. He was going in at the guy. And for anybody out there that doesn't understand what I mean when I said smothering your shots, in boxing, you can get too close to your opponent where you can't be effective. And it's not about fighting on the inside. It's about your distance and proximity with one another. If a fighter is in trouble and you get too close to him, he can reach out and grab and hold and maul you and things like that to kill time, or to get himself back at a safe place if he's been dinged or dazed or something like that. If he's been dropped and he's not steady, he could get up and hold you like that. You don't want to give him that type of advantage to survive or weather the storm. So smothering your shots means closing the distance too much, where neither of you can be effective as far as fighting, but the opponent that's in trouble can be advantageous in surviving. So you don't want to do that. You want to always be in a position to punch, you know, and that's why guys who on the inside, they like to clinch and hold and things like that. Fighters who are the opponent of that guy have a terrible habit of allowing a guy to rest on the inside. You don't let a guy rest on the inside. You give him trouble and understand that if he gets too close to you, he can be damaged. It's something that you have to practice. It's something that you have to work on. And in this case, with Badou Jack, it cost him the fight because he didn't do it just one time. He did it all through that last round. He did it all through the situations where he did catch Pascal at the end of his punches, because there were several instances where he caught Pascal, and I was really pissed at him in that 12th round, because that's when he had him, and he just got too damn close and smothered his shots. I hate to see that. I hate to see that. I hate to see that as much as I hate to see guys fighting with their hands low, and you guys all know how I talk about that. So,
yeah.
But the match also that ended up the main event, Tank Davis. You know, Tank, he fought the type of fight that he let the guy off the hook as well, because supposedly in the aftermath, from what we've heard, that Gamboa hurt himself and he was dealing with a bad leg or whatever. So, you know, here we go. But we could talk about that more. I want to invite another guest that joins us. Kurt Sugar is out there. What's going on with you, Kurt? How you doing, brother?
Hey, Stormy B, man, what's going on, man? Tyrone Smith, I believe I see, and Broken Child Boxing. What's going on with your guys, man?
What's popping, bro?
How are you doing?
We're all good here. Yeah, Kurt, we just, before we get into the main topic, we were just kind of revisiting the fights from last night. Is there anything that you would like to add based on your assessments of the fights from last night? Any fight in particular, or you want to comment a little bit on all of them? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I will comment on all of them real quick. Thompson versus Escadagoul was a better fight than I thought. Thompson has skills, but he can be better than that. You know, he was pulling out. He was a little bit too much Floyd Mayweather-ish, but he had a very good jab. He came behind the jab with straight right that put Escadagoul on his behind. He started fading and looking. It just seemed like he just tried to hold on. You know, I could see some more heart in the future fights. You know, he has to be a little tougher, because in boxing, it doesn't matter your skill level. Boxing, a fight you're in, becomes a war of attrition. You know, I always say boxing is a sport where it's a demolition derby meets ballerina recital. So, you know, it's beautiful, but it's brutal at the same time, you know, and when you look at the great fighters, they were both. They had a lot of heart and highly skilled. So Thompson should go and work on some things, but his jab was really good, man. I don't think Escadagoul going to be the same after the Plant fight. And our next fight was the fight of the night, Pascal and Badou Jack, man. Badou Jack starts very slow every fight. He needs to fight with more fervor and passion. He's a good second half fighter, you know, which is good, but what good is it if you start off slow in the first 6 rounds, you know, rather than the last 6 rounds? You have to put a whole fight together. You know, he always wait too late to get started. So that's why the last 6 out of 8 fights been majority decisions and split decisions and draws. I mean, to me, I couldn't take that. That would be frustrating. So he has nobody to blame but himself, man. He has to start quickly. Fill your guy out in the first round, then second round, you got to step on the gas. But good fight, though. One of the best fights of the year. The last and not least was Tank Davis versus Yuriorkis Gamboa. You know, I don't know. I had mixed emotions about Tank performance. He was breathing heavy by the 4th round. I can't criticize a guy who won every round, knocked the guy down, 2 or 3 times, and then knock him out. But, you know, people comparing him, if that was a different opponent, what would happen? Can't really do that, because every fight has its own energy and every fight has its own personality. So the great Sugar Ray Leonard says, I take one fight at a time and go from there. It's impossible to know what a guy going to look like his next fight because the damn fight ain't happened. So, you can take it one at a time. Tank can improve. I'll say this about Tank. His weakness is he has 1 foot in the boxing ring, 1 foot in the hood. Get that left foot out the hood and get both feet in the ring. I mean, it seems like the whole city of Baltimore is in this locker room. That's a distraction. Nobody should be in there but a couple of people. You got all these hood dudes, and don't forget the FBI was looking for some of them guys, man, about 2-3 years ago. So he need to get around from them people, man. I think it will help him concentrate better, man. He's going to have to now, to be with the big dogs like Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko and Haney. He's got to do better, man, and come in better shape. But it was a good night at the fights last night.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, it was a pretty decent promotion, and the fights turned out to be a little more than what may have been expected. Because if you looked at the card on paper, you'd be like, you could kind of figure the Badou Jack Pascal fight might be worth something, but because Gamboa hung in there, it made Tank's fight more interesting. Not that Tank was ever in danger of losing the fight, I don't think, but just to see him go more rounds, we at least got that out of him. So that was something to consider when you looked at that match. But I also call into question what it may have been like had he been fighting a younger, equally athletic fighter who could punch back and extend him rounds based on his own ability, not just because he's a fated fighter, fated individual. That is what we're going to have to see what happens with Tank. Now that he's a titleist at this particular weight, they're not going to be able to dance away from everybody. He's going to have to fight somebody, and I hope that I am wrong, but I think that he's going to have some difficulty up ahead. Now, I know we have a panel of people here, but I want to swing it right back to Kurt when I say that. Kurt, what do you feel about what I just said?
To be honest with you, I see impending doom unless he changes drastically, because boxing is a lot more than skill, man. I mean, you got to be, like I just said, you got to be focused. You have to concentrate and break your opponent down. I believe you should look at fight film or have a team around you where you can break the fighters down and then execute your game plan. Because, see, he's going to need that. You can't bomb out everybody throwing caution to the wind. Tank will help himself if you start to box. You're not going to see many knockouts. He hit Gamboa with everything with the kitchen sink, and I was surprised that Gamboa didn't go down until late in the fight, but he's going to have to box and stop throwing those punches, them haymakers like he was doing now. He know he was in there with Gamboa, and he tried to close the show early to impress the Atlanta crowd, but when you fight in A-level competition, Tank is nowhere near a great fighter. He's a talented fighter, but he has a long ways to go, man. So I would try to work on my boxing skills. And Tank don't move his head. He keeps his hands up, but you got to move your head, because if you don't move your head, he got tagged a couple of times. I don't know what the hell he was doing looking at the crowd when he got hit with that 3-piece, but that comes with maturity. He's far from mature. And if he don't mature, it's a race against time. As soon as he step up in competition, he's going to lose, not because of his skill level, but his lack of maturity. It's very important for a fighter to be mature. Lomachenko, is very mature. He even dresses like an old school fighter with the sweaters and the apple hats. He lives that lifestyle because he's totally committed to his craft. So that's what he has over Tank, man. You know, he has maturity. You have to live like a fighter, not only in the ring but out the ring.
Yo, that's a good point, man. I'm gonna bring it to our young brother on the panel, Tyrone. What do you think about Tank's performance and the possibility of him stepping up with someone equal in class? Because don't forget, Yuriokis, forgive me, Gamboa was 38 years old. So just think in terms of if Tank was fighting a young fighter like himself, like a Devin Haney or a Teofimo, someone who's closer to him in age and ability. How would you see that shaking out?
Yeah, you know, it's the barometer is hard because we haven't seen him fight like the mega big fights yet. And I agree with Kurt on this. You know, he has to get that other foot out of the hood. But I do think, you know, Tank is a talented fighter, and I think he does have the ability to take it all the way. So we've really just got to see him in the fights. You know, him versus Lopez or Haney or Lomachenko, that, you know, they'll easily beat him or he'll easily beat them. The book's still out for me. You know, I recognize his talent, but I still don't know what he can do yet. That's kind of my thing.
Okay. How about you, Brooklyn? How do you see it?
Yeah, man, I agree with what a lot of things that Tyrone just said. You know, I like when it comes to Tank Davis, like I really don't know. Like I'm just curious how he will react when he's, for one, like I said, fighting another athletic black fighter, for one, because to me this is a big elephant in the room. The fact that he ain't fighting no black fighters, bro. Now, I mean, I think that's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's Tevin Farmer out there. There's Gary Russell Jr. out there. They talking about they was thinking about bringing up Abner Mares, but when you talk about Gary Russell Jr., you know, oh, next question type of shit. You know what I'm saying? I think the talent's there. I think potentially we could potentially have a special fighter. The talent is clearly there, but like I said, for me, the jury is still out. The jury's still out. I want to see how he reacts if and when he gets knocked down. I want to see how he reacts when he's throwing his hardest shots and guys are still there. I want to see how he reacts when he's fighting a guy that could outbox him, like a slick guy like a Tevin Farmer. You know what I'm saying? I want to see how he reacts. Until I see that, and if they're gonna allow this guy to just keep fighting these unathletic Hispanic fighters, listen, I'm still not sold. Point blank and period.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think that the more that this goes on, people should take a closer look at Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s career toward that third quarter of his career and how he elected to fight certain opponents and steer clear of others to maintain a certain advantage. But because he's trying to start someone's career off this way, I see nothing like, but what like Kurt said, bad road ahead for him. I think it's the wrong way to go about something. I think it was successful in Mayweather's case because Mayweather already had an established body of work where he was able to work himself into a position like that economically, and also had enough of a base that was built that it could be tolerated. But when you're talking about guiding someone's career based on these pretenses, not only are you insulting the potential opponents that are out there on the horizon, as well as other combatants who participate in the sport, you're actually it's not just an insult, but you're actually trying to shine an unnecessary light on something that could be even worse than what the insult indicates. What do you think about that, Kurt?
Well, talking about Floyd Mayweather's career, Floyd was smart because he saw fighting certain fighters, like Brooklyn Child said, it was a business move. And fortunately and unfortunately is a part of boxing. That's very important. And when you talk about fighting certain fighters, like Hispanic fighters, Tank's fighting, and not to down nobody because, they're great fighters come in all cultures and colors. But we know that when a black fighter fights another black fighter, it's going to be a tale of genetics and a tale of athleticism and those quick, flashy punches that you can hit other people with. And when you fight a black fighter and you're not hitting the target, you're going to see, can you make the adjustment? That's why I said Tank's going to have to start boxing. But, Stormy, I agree what you said. I really do. I see Ruff. I can't help it, guys, man. I think Tank going to take some losses, man. If he doesn't, like Brooklyn said, the talent is clearly there. But I just don't see him going undefeated or having success against A-level competition because I just think it's a maturity thing. Tank is very immature. And that worries me about a fighter. But what you said, Stormy, I agree wholeheartedly with.
Hey, can I say something real quick? See, the thing with Tank Davis, bro, like, and I was saying this before we went on live, and Kurt, I know I know individuals that's like a Tank Davis in real life. You know what I mean? I've known individuals like a Tank Davis in real life. They weren't boxers, but they did other things in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like the when you were talking about the maturity aspect of it. Now I hope I'm wrong, but something is telling me what we see in Tank Davis now, we're gonna be seeing 5 years from now. It's just something that we're just gonna have to deal with. Now the question is, can he have a successful, illustrious career with all this going on? You know what I'm saying? Can he have an illustrious career with him, as far as he partying all the time and doing all this nonsense outside the ring and being immature, essentially? Will he be able to succeed under those circumstances? Like, we're going to have to wait and see. But if you ask me, he is who he is. He's an immature little brat. You know what I'm saying? Like, point blank and period. That's how I look at it. So, let's see how his career playing out. But honestly, like I said, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon as of yet. I'm not doing it. That's all I got.
Very, very good stuff there, fellas. Want to say shout out to the chat. We got a lot of people who have joined us, since we went live. And I just want to acknowledge a few names. Forgive me for a moment while I run through to acknowledge. We got Gigi out there. Laws D is out there. Macadon 1. Wookie Wook is out there. Kenneth Johnson is out there. Michael Johnson, Boxing Talking More, has joined us. Kenneth Johnson is out there. The African Sci-Fi Scholar. Corner Girl 66. We got Armand Rice. Crush the Legend. Scrapbook Boxing is out there. We got Denise Wards. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. Mark Wanderlick is in the house. Let's see who else we got. Did I miss anybody? It's kind of moving on me now. Huh? It's a lot of people commenting. Harold Jones and One of Them Ones Boxing is out there. What's good with you, One of Them Ones? So we got a lot of people watching us brothers out here. So let's take it on into the main topic for this evening's show, which I called Wilder Fury 2: A Look Ahead. What we're trying to do. Also, Derek Bailey just jumped in. I see you, Derek Bailey. And I Am Legend Boxing. As we are venturing into 2020, early in the month, we have early in the year. I'm sorry, February 22nd, I believe, has been the date that's officially announced that we're going to see the rematch between Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder and Tyson Fury. The first fight was a pretty good heavyweight scrap between these two gentlemen. Both are undefeated, and as the narrative going into the first fight was, it was basically a battle over the real heavyweight champion of the world, because Tyson Fury, who had his layoff and everything, had been stripped of the titles that he won from Vladimir Klitschko. And due to his own problems, those titles he lost. Now, those titles have since been picked up by other fighters who fought for him vacantly and now are in the possession of Anthony Joshua, while the WBC champion Deontay Wilder, after defeating Bermain Stavern, has been a champion for now a record for him 10 title defenses. We all remember how the fight ended, and personally, I felt like the fight should have been a knockout victory for Deontay Wilder in the 12th round when he put Fury down, and Fury was obviously out like a light on his back with a blank stare into the lights. He was motionless, and the referee stood over him yelling the count in his face, basically did everything but reach over and shake him and say, "Wake up." You know, he counted slowly, and Fury did rouse, and then he did rise, but not before what I considered to be not only a long count, but a gross inconsideration by referee Jack Reese, because Fury, being in the 12th round of a rough and tumble fight between the two, and the puncher that Wilder is, when he saw that the man's body was pretty much lifeless, he should have called the fight. But he did give him that chance, and Fury was able to finish the round, and the fight ended up being declared a draw. I'd like to take it to Tyrone. Tyrone, what do you think about that fight, as you recall it, the fight between Wilder and Fury, the first fight?
Hey, Stormy, sorry, Kurt. He said Tyrone left the message that he's gonna be back. So I don't think he's on the Okay.
Well, Brooklyn, why don't you take it? What did you think? Your recollections of this fight?
Yeah, for sure. First off, it was a great fight. First of all, a lot of dramatic moments. Well, as far as mostly about Wilder's case, the one thing I recollect from the fight that was glaring to me, like I feel that Wilder does not get the respect that he deserves for actually winning rounds. I remember one thing that jumped out at me was when Farhood, he said something along, like, he basically, his unofficial scorecard was 6-0 for Fury, and I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck are you people looking at, dude? Are you people just focusing on the goddamn right hand, man? Are you not giving him points for landing jabs to the body and landing shots to Tyson Fury within the first 6 rounds? That's the first thing that glanced out at me. And then another thing that glanced out at me was, now in for Wilder's case, I did feel that he was what's the word I'm looking for? Wilder was definitely excited. I felt Wilder definitely was telegraphing his shots very, like, you can see his shots coming from a mile away. So he made it easy for Tyson Fury to duck and dodge his shots because he made it so easy for him to, like, Wilder made it so easy for him to detect what he was about to do. You know what I'm saying? But once he got himself settled down, oh shit, I'm sorry about that. Once he got himself settled down, once he got himself settled down, you saw what happened in the 12th round. And yes, I agree. You know what I'm saying? Jack Reese, and I did a video on this fucking guy, Jack Reese. I don't like this guy as a referee. He's going to get somebody seriously hurt in the boxing ring. I don't like Jack Reese at all. That count was bullshit. The whole what you call it? Like him, like looking at the replay, you see Jack Reese huddled over Tyson Fury and shit like that, like trying to wake this guy up. He was asleep. He should have called the fight off. That didn't happen. It is what it is, man. But we got
good stuff. What about you, Kurt?
To bring up again more fight last night, and he gave Fury a chance. So that goes to show you something. He had a vested interest in Fury getting on his feet. Wilder was way over anxious, overzealous. Wilder, when he would throw the right hand, he would take a little stutter step and fire the right hand. And Fury saw it coming, like Brooklyn Child said, he was telegraphing the right hand. There was a lot of energy, a lot of tension. When you have a big fight like that, you want to win. And I can't blame him for that. That becomes a lack of experience. But, that fight helped him because that wasn't his best performance, and he still should have gotten the 12th round TKO. Wilder's much better, not only physically, but mentally, because he had the fights with Ortiz, and now he just fought, and he's fighting again in February, which is good. That's how you stay sharp. And you want to ride the momentum of a scintillating knockout, which he knocked out Ortiz in the 7th round. And you're going into another big fight. I always love a fighter who came off a big victory and going into the next fight. That's momentum. Very important, and it's not like it was 6-7 months to go. It just happened. I got Wilder in this fight, man, by knockout in the mid rounds. I didn't like what I saw from Fury against Otto Wallin. I think he shot as low. I'll be surprised if Fury wins this fight. I would give him credit if he does, but I don't see. I think Wilder has too much upside and too much momentum, and he's very confident, and I think he's going to hide that right hand, and somewhere along the fight, that right hand is going to land. But don't count on the right hand. This is Wilder. Mix your punches up. Go to his body and hide it like Tommy Hearns used to do, and you'll get Fury out of there.
Okay. Yeah. Tyrone is back. Tyrone, we were covering what we thought of that first fight, and I had come to you, but you had stepped away. What do you have to offer on your recollections of the first fight and between Wilder and Fury, and how do you feel about how the fight turned out?
Yeah, so the first fight, a lot of the Fury fans and UK fans, were screaming that Fury was robbed and everything like that. But it doesn't take much to go back to the punch stats and, actually watching the fight with the sound off, on Showtime, which was pretty biased itself for Fury. And BT was super biased. I mean, they were calling out his asshole. But just watching the fight back, you see most of those rounds were really close, and I felt Wilder was landing the better, stronger punches. I think the judges and people got really taken about by the theatrics and putting the tongue out and raising your hands and all of this stuff. That's not boxing. Fighting on the back foot, getting put down twice is not a good look. And that last knockdown, he was out. He didn't beat the count. So this time, I think I agree with Kurt. There's just too much momentum for Wilder very quickly, because he's going to put out, I mean, he's been putting out messages, but this one will really cement everything. He basically said all these guys they send after him can't beat him. And it's going to show.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I think that Mr. Fury has done a number of things to sabotage what could have been something very positive for the sport and everything. It's amazing how guys who are losers, and when I say losers, that doesn't mean that, you know, he never won a heavyweight championship or whatever, because he did. But losers in life, they find ways to sabotage. You know, they find ways to sabotage their lives, their careers, their homes, and things like that, because at the end of the day, they don't really want success. And they have something that drives them toward having woe and pity. You know what I mean? So that's what they do. There's always opportunity for them to step it up or whatever, and then they take that wrong step. Just like he had the opportunity to step up for the rematch right away, and he decided to back out and do some other things. And even in doing that, it didn't work out quite how they had thought or hoped or whatever. And if he had just gone right into the rematch that they had on the table, win, lose, or draw, he could have come out of that with his head high and respected and looked at as someone that other people in the sport can say, well, you know what? He's XYZ, but at least blah, blah, blah. But see, he robbed himself of that. That's what losers do. Deontay, on the other hand, has taken a higher road, going back, rematching Ortiz, and having a success of a performance, and even drew more adulation from people. As I have maintained that he's the people's champ, we've seen it established that this man is definitely someone to support and get behind, but not only that, but because of his fair play, how he deals with people. He's not looking at A side, B side crap. He's not looking at the money aspect of things. He's giving people respectable opportunities financially when they step into the ring with him. How can you not respect that? But we see it so many other times in the sport that people are using that as a means of not taking on, you know, quality opposition, and worried about risking their position and status in the sport. But now here it is. He does have to come back, because I do believe the rematch was in a contract and they had a certain amount of time to get that done. So here he is crawling back to the table, and he's still talking crap. I'm talking about Fury here for this second go round. Deontay has shown in rematches that he's not to be played with. And as we talk about what may be on the table ahead, I open it up to you, brothers, to let me know about your thoughts early on, because I'm sure we have time between now and then, February 22nd, to consider what can happen. Give us your thoughts about what I've just laid out. Brooklyn, what do you think?
I mean, you referring to, like, as far as Fury backing out of the initial rematch?
Well, you know, with everything that has transpired now, he's getting the rematch. So with the look ahead, what are your thoughts looking at this fight going ahead? You don't have to give a necessary pre-fight prediction, but your thoughts of this fight going ahead. And also knowing the fact that they could have fought right away, but it was Fury who didn't elect to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. As far as Fury backing down to the rematch, yeah, I definitely thought it was cowardly. You know what I'm saying? I didn't respect that at all. I thought it was some bullshit. It was just like, you know, a lot of times as boxing fans, we look forward to something, but then sometimes these fighters just do something to disappoint you. And that was an example right there. You know what I mean? But, you know, it is what it is. The fight's on. I mean, I guess my initial my initial thoughts on the fight, man, is just, you know, I see it's gonna be another February 22nd, 2020 is gonna be a very, it's gonna be one of those, there's gonna be one of those fights that people are gonna look back 20 years down the line. You know what I'm saying? That, like, it's gonna be a very memorable fight. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Fury from an outside the ring standpoint, but inside the ring, you know, he does possess some attributes that you have to factor in more so, especially like with his height and his reach, because you haven't really seen too much heavyweights who's 6'9", 260 plus that can move the way he can move. You know what I'm saying? So there is something that Wilder has to think about, and he displayed that in the first fight. But at the end of the day, I feel Wilder will make the necessary adjustments to get, you know what I'm saying? I see him getting the job done. And one thing that's key for me is Wilder, I don't feel he's going to have those pre-fight jitters. He's not going to have the pre-fight jitters that he had in the first fight, because he admitted that the first fight, the moment of the fight, got to him. You know, Mayweather, to his credit, he has spoken about this often as far as, you know, the pay-per-view atmosphere and shit like that. You know, that gets to a fighter. You know what I mean? And I definitely felt it got to Wilder in the first fight, because that was his first pay-per-view, the biggest fight of his career. And, you know, he got too excited. But I think going into the next fight, Wilder is not going to he's not going to have those pre-fight jitters that he had in the first fight. He's not going to be all excited and shit. Like, he's been there, done that. Key examples are Luis Ortiz. That was a pay-per-view fight. That was a big fight. But to me, I felt like he was cool, calm, collected, you know? And I see that's how Wilder's going to perform in the next fight. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Tyrone, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, I agree with Brooklyn on what Wilder is going to do for the rematch. I think he's just going to, you know, put the pressure on early and get him out of there. I was disappointed in him not listening to Mark Breland as much. And Breland, you know, in a couple of interviews was talking about, he said, when you're not going to the body and you're not, you know, you're headhunting, this is what happens. And he's an amazing coach, Olympian, former world champion. For Breland to be saying that, you know, was telling. But I feel that he's learned since then, especially in the Brazil fight. He went back to jump rope and doing some of the older conditioning work that he started off doing in the beginning of his career, and the improvement has shown, the IQ has shown.
That it?
I mean, well, I think he'll just get him out of there early, to be honest with you. Probably, I don't think it's going to go past 5. Okay. I think Wilder will jump on him this time and not let all this, you know, herky-jerky bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Kirk. So what about you, bro? How do you feel about it with a look ahead?
Well, you know, you can't underestimate Fury or any opponent. Wilder's going to have to be smart. You can't rely on your right hand all the time. You got to let the knockout come by itself. You know, Wilder has to help himself by boxing and being smart and fighting with controlled aggression. You know, if the knockout comes. If it don't, it don't. You know, but you know, I want to see him be more well-rounded, throw hooks, uppercuts and close, go to the body, use your jab, man. Your jab can offset Fury's jab because he's going to look for Fury's going to be looking to out jab you, and your jab will offset his jab, and throw that right hand many times as possible because it keeps him honest. It's not always landing your power punch. He's aware of that punch, but it can keep a fighter honest, So if the fight is competitive down the road, what I see, if the fight is competitive, we're going to see number 3. If it's not competitive, no need for another one. And Wilder can go on and fight people like Kanaski and Usyk or whoever, let him build up the title defenses because he's inching his way up in history, And I wasn't a Wilder fan when he first started. I thought he was below par, subpar, below average. And he gets gotten better. So he did it organically, and his name is in the record books. He's probably the hardest hitting heavyweight to ever grace the ring, So this is a big fight. Fury's at the college football games. They promoting the fight already. They announced the fight on the college football playoffs, It's only December, so the pay-per-view is going to do very well. I'm excited about this fight. We have some juice in the heavyweight division, and I can't wait for the fight February 22nd. Wilder is going to have to be at his best. Prepare yourself. I don't have to worry about Wilder mentally because he don't be with a bunch of people. He's always by himself. He's a family man, so I like that about Wilder. I feel comfortable, but I feel confident. I don't like Fury, but I don't hate Fury. I see what he's doing. He's clout chasing. He's always in America, So I know what he's trying to do, trying to get a fan base. But I like Wilder in this fight, and I can't wait for the fight on February 22nd.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as we go forward here, I look at the status that the two fighters have in the sport. The one thing that Fury, if of the proper mindset, he could take a lot of fame by going out there trying to win the fight and put himself in a great position. But I'm just not 100% solid on his ability to do that based on his track record. Wilder has won a lot of people over in a different manner, whether it's been through his performances, what he's been able to show outside the ring, what he has been able to show by how he's been successful in the ring. It can't be overlooked. I, like Kurt, was thinking of him as not so impressive earlier in his journey toward the title. There was something that kind of didn't speak on, check this person out or whatever, because knockouts are knockouts. However, what seemed to rise with him as he progressed in his career is like the people who began to openly speak negatively about his accomplishments and everything, the more that seemed to take place, the more dialed in he became in his own path and how he began to bring fights to their conclusion. And one thing that could not be denied is the fact that he was a force to be dealt with. And I think that, first and foremost, is one of the things that made a lot of other fighters in the division want to avoid him. You don't have a lot of that in the sport of boxing, but when it does come along, you can see it and you can see the others who react to it. There's almost like there's a whisper amongst the crowd. Hey, forget that. I ain't getting in there with that dude. That kind of thing. It does happen. And I think the last time we saw something like that happen was it could have been maybe when Julian Jackson was doing his thing in the sport of boxing. You could just see Jackson was putting people's lights out, and there were a lot of fighters that didn't want to fight Julian Jackson, and he was a lot more limited than Deontay Wilder is. But it's just funny how history kind of repeats itself as far as knowing this to have happened before. As I look ahead, one of the things I am hopeful about is soon after this takes place, we could see finally a unification match, where all the belts are on the line for undisputed. I don't know how realistic that may be for the year of 2020, but I would love to see it fast tracked, that we could have that opportunity to have a single heavyweight champion of the world. For you brothers here on this panel this evening, how do you see the division going after this fight, regardless of whether Wilder wins or Fury wins? And what would you like to see? Tyrone, let's go with you.
I don't want to dig up old ground here, but I feel Andy Ruiz had the chance to save the heavyweight division. He fumbled. Now, will we see an undisputed champ? Sure. Anthony Joshua will never fight Deontay Wilder. The belts will probably be spread out. But importantly, as long as there's a consensus, number one, that's probably the most significant thing. I think for Wilder, which I believe he'll win this fight, and pretty easily, I think they'll probably line him up with, guys. And he'll get to that 50-0.
Goes up.
Brooklyn, what do you have to say?
Yeah, man, for me, man, when it comes to Wilder, bro, I'm gonna, obviously, the fight hasn't taken place, but I think he's gonna come out, he's gonna prevail in a beautiful, dramatic, highlight reel fashion. This is what I see, and as far as the heavyweight division going forward, yeah, man, I agree with Tyrone, man. Like, this dude, Andy Ruiz, man, really dropped the ball out here. He didn't take this opportunity seriously. It could have been, listen, it is what it is. He lost the fight. Fuck him. You know what I'm saying? But as far as with Wilder and shit like that, I just see the man, cleaning house. I don't see Joshua fighting this man anytime soon. I don't see him fighting anytime soon. So for me, I support Wilder. Whatever he does, whatever he does, I'm supporting. He wanna clean these dudes' clocks, up until he retires, man. I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? I've gotten to the point where if AJ don't want to fight him, listen, I'm okay with it, because I'm gonna acknowledge the fact that he's a scared pussy. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to fight him. You know what I mean? And Wilder's the number one guy. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it.
Okay. All right. And Kurt, what do you have to say, bro?
Well, you can't force any fighter to fight you. Let's see what happens on February 22nd. If Wilder is successful, start calling out Anthony Joshua. If he don't fight you, defend the belt as many times as possible with the best names in the division. That's the only thing you can do. We all want to see a unification fight, but Anthony Joshua is not elbowing his way in the arena to get in the ring with one Deontay Wilder. And, fight the Kanaskis. I doubt he get Usyk. I'm afraid they're going to split those titles up. I hope not, because that would be a dream, Wilder versus Joshua for undisputed be one of the biggest fights in history. It's always, that's the case when you have two heavyweights that are champions. And it'll be perfect timing, right in the prime of their life, man. But, you know, in the boxing, that's in a perfect world of boxing, that never seems to happen. It's always some obstacles that's in the way, you know. And like I said, you know, fight Konaski, to anybody who we can get his hands on. You know, Dillian White is a good fight because, you know, it's a rivalry. You know, he could fight him. Whoever, keep on being busy, fight as many times as possible, and then retire because he'll have nothing more to prove. You know, I would like to see him get to 50. If not, so be it. But Wilder has showed me a lot, man. He's improved so much, you know, and I'm hard on fighters. So for me to be satisfied with Wilder, that says a lot. But, you know, first things first, take care of business on February 22nd.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about that. Well, I think that we have had a great boxing discussion this evening between everyone that has been a part of the panel. We got Tyrone Smith, we got Kurt Sugar, we got Brooklyn Child, and myself, that we wanted to have a little bit of conversation on a look ahead towards Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 2. And we opened up talking about the fights that we enjoyed last night with the headlining event with Tank Davis taking on Yuriorkis Gamboa. Fellas, before we sign off, I'd like to just ask you for your final comments and let everybody know where they can find you and follow you as far as being out here on YouTube. We're going to start with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, let everybody know where they can find you and give us some final words on whatever you like to say.
Yeah, man. Feel free to subscribe to me, man. Brooklyn Child Boxing. I'm on YouTube. That's the only place I'm at. You know, I'm not really into this Twitter and Facebook and all this other nonsense. You know what I mean? So, you know, find me on YouTube. You know, I'm actually like 10 subs. I think I'm like 10 or 8 subs away from 300. So, you know, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You know, I'll be doing some live streams. I'm gonna be uploading some, you know, regular videos. I'm gonna start uploading more videos and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as my final words on this Wilder Fury, bro, I see the fight going like this. I just want to give like a brief breakdown how I see the fight going. You know, I see Wilder opening up that cut early in the fight. You know what I'm saying? I see him opening up that cut early in the fight because as soon as that fight was announced, that Waleed fight came to my mind, and him and the blood trickling down the stream like a damn stream and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I hopefully he opens up that cut early in the fight. I see Wilder utilizing the left hand in ways that we haven't seen before. I could see Wilder just hitting him with the left hand. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out with a left hook, like a left hook to the face or a left hook to the body. I wouldn't be surprised. Fury is only gonna. I feel like he's only gonna be concerned with that right hand. You know what I'm saying? And he's gonna be in for a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? But salute to Deontay Wilder. That's the people's champ. I support him 1,000%. To me, he's a perfect representation of what a true fighter, a true boxer is supposed to conduct himself and how he performs and shit like that. So salute to him. Salute to the panel. Salute to the chat. That's my thoughts.
All right. Tyrone, let's have your final thoughts and let people know where they can find you. And also, by the way, since he's only about 10 or so subs away, anybody that's out here in the chat or listening who hasn't subscribed to Brooklyn Child, let's get him on up there to that 300, man. 300 is the Sparta number, you know. So he wants to be a Spartan. We like him to be a Spartan. So let's get Brooklyn on up there. Just take one moment to go over to his channel, click on his name in the chat there, and let's get the brother up there. We're supposed to support one another with love. So can we get that done, please? Okay, Tyrone, let's have your final thoughts and let people know where they can find you.
Thanks, Stormy Man, for letting me on here. You guys can follow me on Tyrone Smith, just on YouTube. Just started out. Just like to talk about, it's been a bunch of live streams, although I need to put more content. Been slacking there, but yeah, final thoughts. Yeah, I think it's just going to end early. And probably within 5 rounds. And I think it'll be a trademark right hand.
Okay. That's short but sweet. Hopefully like the fight. Kurt, my brother, let everybody know where they could find you and, leave us with your final thoughts.
Yes, sir. I'm proud of all the boxing channels that's on YouTube, man. Tyrone Smith, if you ever need me, if you put out live content, I'm there to support you. Brooklyn Child Boxing, I'm subscribed to you. I haven't seen a live. If you ever do a live and you need my support, I'm there, man. The most important, we have a community that we have monopolized this YouTube boxing thing, man. It's a beautiful sight. Beautiful. The sport that I crave so much all day, every day. Boxing consumes so much of my life, man. I can't get enough of it. It's been 45 years, Stormy doing great things. And subscribe to Scrapbook Boxing. He has the history of Harlem Boxing Part 1 and 2. It's a great piece, man. You won't want to miss it. It's a treat for the holidays. But my name is Curtis Anderson, a.k.a. Kurt Sugar. You can find me on Blue Blood Sports TV Monday through Fridays, 3:30, 4 o'clock. We haven't been doing many shows because of the holidays. Plus, you can find me on OG Boxing Talk. That's for non-boxing Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just great that we could come together as family and talk boxing.
All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. My final thoughts are this. As we come to the end of this year, 2019, having enjoyed so much content, so much material based on these great matches that we've had put on, where these warriors have pit their skills against one another for our entertainment. I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe new year, and may we have more wonderful content to cover and spectacle to behold as we enter the year of 2020, and that our community continues to grow in a positive sense, where we can extend even to the world of boxing, these very fighters who do entertain us, that we can extend that support and they recognize why we are here and why we do what we do and say what we say over the airwaves, and that it make a difference in their approach to their livelihoods, that they understand that there's a base out there, a solid base that supports what they do and the integrity behind what they do, and that they lean and gear themselves more toward that. And with that type of understanding, that they could put on better shows by putting in better efforts in their training, in their approach, how they deal with the fan base, and coverage of their lives and livelihoods. So that's what I hope for. And hopefully we can get to that place where we can enjoy the sport and the best of what it has to offer, and have less of the negative aspects that we have been shown. So that's my departing thought for this evening's show. I want to thank everybody in the chat that came out to listen to us this evening. I want to thank everyone that listened but didn't participate in the chat. Feel free to subscribe to the STORMYBMAN channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification icon so you'll know when new shows are being aired or when content is being dropped or uploaded. And let's just be positive. Let's keep it together. Let's make sure that we support one another, and look for us out here on the airwaves of YouTube as an entire community that's totally connected. This is STORMYBMAN. I want to say shout out to the LDBC. I want to thank my panel of guests this evening, Brooklyn Child Boxing, Tyrone Smith, and Kurt Sugar, for taking the time out to share this Mutual Light Sports